Welcome to Conversations. I'm Muqtadar Khan, your host, and today I want to talk to you about certain measures that the Indian government has taken. It appears that the Modi government is worried about the decline of the rupee. For the past few months, or you could say for the past 1 year, we have seen a steady decline of the Indian rupee, and that decline has exaggerated and it has become a bit more rapid in the past few weeks, especially because of the war in Iran, and that is having an impact on how the Indian government responds. So, I'm going to first show you some data, and then I will tell you what measures the Indian government is taking in order to defend the rupee. So there are three, four things that I'm going to show you as to how there is a lot of pressure, fiscal pressure on the Indian government because one, the rupee is declining. Number two, foreign private investments is fleeing the country. There's a decline in the net foreign direct investments. And I will explain to you how all of these are connected. And a lot of these problems are being exaggerated by what is happening in the Gulf War and by the increase of the oil prices. So the first thing that I'm going to do is show you what the Brent oil price is. This is the critical one. So as you can see, it has gone way above 115. It has reached 115. It was, just as a reminder, it was $65 per barrel before the war started. And now you can see it has gone up by $50 per barrel. It is rapidly approaching the benchmark where you can say it will become double the price. And this is all thanks to the policy of the United States and Israel to attack Iran and try to establish Israeli hegemony in the Middle East by eliminating any and all countries that are resistant to Israeli domination of the Middle East. And Iran is punishing the global economy as a response. So first thing to know that as of now, if you were to go and buy oil now, it would be 115. And although this is the oil that comes out of Gulf, and this is the oil that most countries buy. And then the Indian rupee, which was 93 to the dollar yesterday, so $1 was equal to 93. As of now, this is about 10 minutes ago, you can see the rupee has crashed further. So $1 is now equal to 94.34 rupees. Yes, for a little while, last week, it had gone to 94.86. It has not yet touched $95. So every time the rupee approaches what is called as a psychological benchmark, like when it was at 88, 89, they spend a lot of money. The Reserve Bank spends a lot of money trying to make sure that it does not reach $90. And then once it becomes 90, the Reserve Bank now is taking many measures to ensure that rupee does not become 95. But a lot of people feel that it's just a matter of time that rupee will reach $900 and then continue to rise. So let me give you an example of what has happened. So this is in the last 1 year. 1 year ago, rupee, the dollar was just 85 rupees, and now it is close to 94.3, which is about roughly 95. So by 10 rupees, so the value of dollar has gone up. Let me also show you the trend over a period of time. So if you look at this, rupee keeps falling, prompting RBI concerns. Currency has declined past 94. This was, I had taken a screenshot about 5-6 hours ago. But if you look at 2019, this is when the second term of Prime Minister Modi begins. The rupee was hovering around 70 or 69. When Modi became Prime Minister in 2014, the rupee was at about 57 to $60, 60 rupees per dollar. And if you remember, a lot of, including celebrities, were making fun of Manmohan Singh and saying that you're not able to run the country well because look, a dollar is now close to 60 rupees. But now it has been steadily falling. So since 2019, it has gone from somewhere around 69 You can see 70 to up to 95. Right now it is 94.3. So it has basically reduced by 50% the value of rupee. Now, for a country that is a net importer, which means India's imports are more than India's exports, right? So if you are an exporter, the falling down of your currency benefits you because everything that you make is cheaper. Like, for example, now if I wanted to buy, uh, say, something that costs 1 rupee in India. So for $1 in January, when I was in India, I could have bought only 88 or something. Now I can buy 94 of those because the value of rupee has gone down. So for me, it becomes very tempting to import things from India because then I'll make more profit in the United States than, say, from Sri Lanka or Bangladesh or Pakistan, where the currency is not falling at the same pace as India's is falling. So if you are a net exporter, it benefits you significantly, right? So it benefits you significantly if you are a net exporter. But if you're a net importer, now everything that you import becomes more expensive. India has a deficit of over 130, $140 billion. So India imports more than it exports. So all of India's imports are all going to become more expensive. So to buy something that costs $1, instead of giving 85 rupees, you are now going to give 95 rupees. So that is the problem. So what has happened in the last 1 month is that the dollar has gone up significantly as the price of oil has also gone up, as I showed you here. So this is in 1 year, but I can let me just delete this and show you what has happened in 1 month alone. So there's a limit to how many uh, slides I can have in this program. So I'm going to remove this and I'm going to add one which says, so according to most of the data, what India had was at the beginning of this month, like 1 month ago, uh, here it is, I got this now. So I'll show you, it was 91 at the beginning of March. So on March 1st, as you can see, this is an old slide that I took. So on March 1st, it was 91. And now it is 94.3. This is day before yesterday's. This drop is very important because this drop happened because of the new policies that the Reserve Bank of India made. And I will tell you, they made this because they were trying to block the rupee from reaching 95. This is the 95. This is where it had reached the peak, 94.86. And Reserve Bank changed its policies and it dropped. But then today again it has come back up, as I showed you. Rupee is now at 94.4. So what did the Reserve Bank do? So in the last 1 year, or rather 6 months, the data I have is for 6 months. In the last 6 months, the Reserve Bank has sold $65 billion. So this is how it works. Because the price of oil is going up, so and we have to buy oil in dollars. Nobody's taking rupees for anything in the world. There's a lot of talk about it. Okay, the Prime Minister's, the Modi government talks a lot about it. Rupee, they were talking about de-dollarization, and then Donald Trump threatened, and then they completely shut up. Now you never hear Dr. Jaishankar or Modi or anybody use the word de-dollarization. They're so scared of Donald Trump that they just drop that word from their vocabulary. But when the price of oil goes up, you're paying more. So now India is paying $50 more today per barrel. If they were buying a barrel, it would have cost them $65. Now it costs them $115. So in order to pay that extra $50, they will go out there and buy those $50 before they can buy the oil. And because they're buying dollars, the demand for dollar increases. And then the price of dollar goes up. So if India goes and says, I want to buy $50 billion, the moment he says, people will say, okay, I have $50 billion, but I'm not going to give it to you at 94, I'll give it to you at 95 or 96 rupees. What will you do? And so the more India buys dollars, the more the price of dollar will go up and the price of or value of rupee will go down. So that's one thing that is happening. Now, there's another thing that is happening. So the Indian economy did very well, 6.5%, 7% growth for the last 2, 3 years. So what did the foreign investors do? They started taking profit. How do you take profit? By selling. So if you bought a stock in India, let's say you bought an Ambani stock or an Adani stock, and now it has gone up by 20% and you want to make some profit out of that. So you sell the stock. So you sell the stock in India in rupees, and then you want to convert that into dollars so you can bring them back to the US or bring them back to the rest of the world. And then when you start buying dollar, then again the price of dollar goes up and the value of rupees goes down. So let me show you that data too. Okay, you can go and see. There are some people here who are making comments suggesting they don't believe, but you can go back and just Google it. Just Google dollar to rupee. Right now it's at 94.3. This is very close to the lowest it has ever been in history. When Prime Minister Modi became minister, it was less than $60, 60 rupees per dollar. Now it's 94.4. Anyway, so there are several things that have happened. Let me also show you. For example, look at this. Indian rupee traders are now worried because of the policy that the RBI has made. The Reserve Bank of India made a policy, and that will be implemented starting April 10th. Okay, these are the rules that they said. One of the rules that they have made is that India has moved to curb speculative bets against the rupee. So a lot of investors are betting that the rupee is going to fall. Like I said, everybody's betting that it will fall to 100. So they are selling it. So because of that, uh, the Reserve Bank said that you can't have more than $100 million at the end of the day. So what this particular policy of the Reserve Bank does is it forces, this is effective only from April 10th, it will force the private banks to sell dollars. So when the private banks also start selling dollars, then the Federal Reserve Bank itself does not have to sell. So India's reserves have gone down also because India was at $720 billion worth of reserves. Now it has gone to $693 billion. And that's because in the last 6 months, India has sold about $65 billion. They have sold it in the market to bring the value of dollar down. See, if anything, if the supply increases, the price goes down. So by selling dollars, RBI was increasing the supply of dollars inside India and brought the price of dollars down, or is keeping it down. But other factors in the economy are pushing it up. And in the last 1 month, because the rupee was falling as if it's like free fall, it went from 91 to 95. That's close to 4%, 5% fall. And so the RBI sold about $18 billion from its reserves to make sure that it does not crash all the way to 100. So the techniques that the Reserve Bank is using to keep the price of rupee up is one, to sell it to sell dollars. Now it is doing two things. It's making policies which stops people who do short selling. So short sellers are those who bet that, like, so for example, let us say that let's say that I have this pen. So this pen, I know its value is going to fall in the next 2, 3 days. So what will I do with this pen? Let's say this pen is $100, or let's say this pen is 95 rupees, and I know that in 1 month its value is going to become less. So what I will do is I'll sell it today and promise to deliver it a month later, and then I'll go a month later and buy it in the market and give it to the purchaser. But because I'm selling today, I'll sell it at 95, and it will fall and so I'll be able to buy it cheaper later. That's called short selling. So you want the price of rupee to go down, and so you will sell it later. So that, to prevent that kind of short selling, the RBI has put a cap on commercial banks and private banks, and forcing them to sell dollar. And because they are selling the dollar, then the price of rupee will go up, the price of dollars will go down, and it will not affect the Reserve Bank's own reserves. It will affect the reserves that the other banks have. But anyway, the cumulative reserves are cumulative reserves for the country. So that is the policies that this Reserve Bank has announced as of March 29th. There's some other troubling figures that I want to show. Like, for example, you can see that India's foreign exchange has dropped. In the month of February, it was 728. It was an all-time high, and now it is at 698. So $30 billion worth of reserves have decreased because they were sold to keep the value of rupee high and not let it fall to 100, which is a psychological thing. I guess for the government, they will get a lot of heat. But there are other things that are happening. For example, the foreign private investment outflows. Now, this is a very serious development. The foreign private investment. These are people who bought. So it is 1 lakh crores have been withdrawn in 2026. This is from Times of India. You can just Google this. Just Google FPI, foreign private investors. So it tells you very clearly the sharp outflow comes just weeks after a strong February when foreign portfolio investors had pumped 22,000 crores into the Indian markets. It was the highest at 17. Then the war started on 28. Remember, on 25th, Prime Minister Modi went to Israel and said, I stand with Israel with full conviction. Great, we are supporting Israel. And then the war starts. Israel and America attack Iran. The price of oil goes up. The price of rupee goes down. And foreign investors start selling. And they have sold $12 billion worth of Indian stocks. So some people may think that they are profit taking, and some may think that they are just fleeing. It is up to you to reach whatever conclusion you want to reach. Okay, but right now it's very worrying because in 1 month or in this year, 1 lakh crores, 1 lakh crores withdrawn so far in 2026. That's a huge amount of money that is leaving and running. It's saying, because it is like expressing a lack of confidence in the Indian market. And that is something that should be worrying. So FPI is foreign private investment. Okay. And then there's something called FDI, which is foreign direct investment. So India's net foreign direct investment has stayed in negative territory for 5 straight months. So 3 things are happening. Okay. So let me just give you the figure. And so basically it has, so gross FDI inflows in January were 5.67 and about, so the negative is about 2 billion. You can go and look at it. But let me explain what actually happens. 3 things are happening. Number one, that foreigners are investing in India. Okay. So that is an important thing. So lots of foreigners are sending money. About $5 billion have come in the past few months. And then there are others who are running away. So they are selling it. But when they sell or withdraw their investments, so you have negative foreign direct inflow. So you have 2 things that is happening. Money is coming in because foreigners are investing it. Remember, Microsoft said it's going to invest $50 billion and create a data center. And then Google also said it's investing. So money is coming into India and people are investing. But then there are those who have come here who are running away. So there are 2 things happening, right? Money coming in, money going out. And then something else is happening, a third thing, and that is Indian businessmen, instead of investing in India, are investing abroad. So there are two ways by which money is going out of India, which is foreign direct investment is withdrawing and Indians are investing abroad, and only one way in which money is coming into India, where foreign direct investments are coming into India. So it's like this: one coming, two going, and therefore the net for the past 5 months is negative. So you have foreign direct investments going away. Abhishek Tiwari has just joined the channel. Welcome, Abhishek. And you remind me of Abhishek Sharma, the cricketer. So foreign direct investment is going away. Foreign private investment is going away. Rupee's value is going down. Dollar's value is going up. And one more thing that is happening: the price of oil is nearly doubled. So India spends about $300 billion on energy. Now it will be spending $600 billion on energy, or little less than 600 as of today. So if this war stays on, if America and Israel continue to attack Iran and Iran continues to hold on to the Strait of Hormuz, you're going to see a lot of dangerous things happening in terms of the economy. You could see recession in the global economies, etc. I have written a couple of articles on this, and I can show it to you. I need to drop a few things from here, from my studio, and then I will be able to show you a few more things which are very, very important. Let me remove this. And so if you go to a particular website, and I will share the link to that website, I have been writing articles about this war and investments, etc. So you can go to this website, and I will share the link with you in a second. Here is the link. So you can see all the articles that I have written. And I've written an article called The Energy Shock, that you can see. And that energy shock is in partnership with a very prominent Indian economist. So you can see my articles. So this article, I'm saying The Energy Shock, with Dr. Santosh Mehrotra. And then you can see several of these articles that are coming. And then there are some of the video media that I have done with BBC, CNN, and Al Jazeera, etc. So this is one thing that you can go and take a look at. That I've shared the link in the comment section, and you can find out. So this is a bit worrying. It is very clear that the Indian government is panicking a little bit. The banks are not happy that all of these restrictions are coming on how they can handle with the currency, but India seems to be worried. Not so much about the reduction of dollars in the reserves, because they have spent more than $65 billion in the last 6 months, just to keep the value of rupee from falling and falling and falling. One more problem for Modi is Modi likes to brag, right? That, oh, India is the fifth biggest, fourth biggest. So for about more than a year and a half, everybody in India was bragging that India is the fourth biggest economy. We overtook Japan. Well, the reality is India did not overtake Japan. India is now the fifth biggest economy, not the fourth biggest, because they had to. IMF told them that your data is rubbish, and so they went back and changed the data and the baseline of how they calculate GDP from 2012 to 2022. 23, I think, the year they have used as a baseline. And so as a result of that, India's total GDP has grown smaller. But something else happened. Remember, we measure GDP in dollars, not in rupees. So even if India's GDP remains the same, let's say India's GDP is $100, 100 rupees, and it remains at 100 rupees, say, for the whole 2 months. So India is okay, there's no growth. But if the value of rupees goes down, so what is 100 rupees equal to? $1.05. And if the value of rupee goes down, then India's GDP will become less than $1. Even though it will remain the same in rupees, it will reduce in dollars. So that is another thing that Modi is worried about. is saying that, oh my God, if the rupee's value goes down, if it becomes 100, it becomes 110, then India's GDP might go down below $4 trillion. Instead of reaching $5 trillion that Modi has been saying India was supposed to reach $5 billion like 5 years ago, $5 trillion 5 years ago. But it's barely at $4 trillion now. And with the fall of the value of rupee, the total GDP will be less than $4 trillion. And if it goes to 110 or 120, it will fall even further. So the government doesn't want the rupee to fall, and so it's making these policies. But unfortunately, uh, what is going to happen is that the price of oil is going up, and we have to buy oil in dollars. And so there will be more and more demand for dollars, and that will increase the price of dollars. So this is not something that is just happening to India. I was looking at different currencies, and the currencies that have suffered the most are the Indian currency, and the South Korean currency also has taken a big hit. The Chinese is quite stable. The Japanese is maybe 1% suffering, but not as much as South Korea and India. I'm very surprised that the Pakistani currency has remained very stable. It hasn't budged much. I haven't looked at the other South Asian currencies. I was just looking at 405, and it is very, very shocking to see as to how one of the worst performing currencies these days in Asia is Indian currency. And unfortunately, nobody seems to be discussing this in India. Yes, so many economists. None of them seems to be discussing. I'm going to try and bring in a couple of prominent economists onto the channel in the near future, maybe next week or after that, and then we will talk about it. So anyway, that's what I wanted to share with you for today. Thank you for watching Conversation. Subscribe to the channel, try to become a member, share this video with others, etc., etc., etc. And now let me look at your comments, and if there are some interesting questions, I'll be happy to answer them. And if there are some interesting comments, I'll be going to read them. People make a religion. हिंदुओं को पैनिक नहीं है, भारत के दुश्मनों को पैनिक है. Okay, great. So there's nothing serious. People talk about. All right, so this is an interesting question by Divanshu Agarwal, 3628. Sir, it is possible that Trump started the war in the Middle East to destabilize Middle East and increase the price of crude because expensive crude is benefiting USA and Russia, but causing pain to others. So the biggest beneficiary in the short term is going to be the US companies. So what has happened is that there is no supply of the Gulf oil. It's blocked from the Strait of Hormuz. So 20% of the oil is not coming out of the Strait of Hormuz. But people have not reduced the consumption. So where are they buying that oil from? So Trump has allowed Russia to sell oil. Trump has allowed Iran to sell oil because lifted sanctions on Iran, because Iran is allowing Iranian ships to go through the Strait of Hormuz. So Trump is saying, okay, let Iran sell some oil. And that is a bonanza. Iran is going to make $14 billion of profit from the oil that it is allowed to sell, which is, it will actually become more than $15 billion now because the price of oil has gone up. So yes, Iran is going to benefit in the short term. Russia is going to benefit because Russia was also selling oil, but at a discount. Now that Trump has lifted sanctions, Russia is going to sell it at market price, not at a discount. So Russia is going to make some extra money. I think it's making $300 million a day, I think, or month, I don't know. But Russia is also making money. But the Europeans who are not getting gas, and some of it, India is now going to buy from Venezuela or the US. That is going to benefit the US. So US oil companies will now be selling very expensive US oil on the market at market prices. But because the market price of oil has gone up, it's not going to help American citizens. So the price of petrol or gas has gone up inside the US. So the American consumer is suffering, because everything is going to become expensive. But American oil companies are going to make a huge profit. And I hope they pay taxes and somehow it's compensated. But American citizens are not going to benefit from this. So it's basically oil companies are going to make a lot of money. And if you knew about this, you would have invested in them. Like if I knew in January that Trump was going to start a war and the price of oil would double, well, whatever little money I have in the bank, I could have put it in oil and it would have become double, right? From 65 to 115. So yeah, some people are going to make a lot of money, are already making a lot of money. All right, let us see what Pyasa Shaitan, who's also a member of Conversations. Thank you for your support. So do you think H-1B will continue in different states? Will different US states and universities go against the federal state to continue H-1B even further? Though there is a lot of discouragement going on. And some states like the state of Florida and maybe even Texas are going to discourage. Florida has basically told Florida universities not to hire H-1B. And I also learned, like, for example, there was a scandal a few weeks ago or a few days ago when the matching of doctors took place, right? Residencies. So people who finished their MD, they're looking for residency. So in that, many foreigners got jobs. International students, doctors who came from overseas, and they're applying, who passed the ECF, what is it called, UCF, UCMLE, whatever that exam is. They passed the doctor's exam, and now they have to apply, and they are getting residency in the US, or USMLE is the exam. Yeah, so they passed the USMLE, and so thousands of international doctors got that job, and they will be getting it using H-1B. But what was interesting is that when you look at the broad data, you find that many hospitals were reluctant to hire international students because they are not sure about how H-1B is going to work. There could be delays. So, for example, in India, there are a lot of people who have H-1Bs and they went home and they're not able to go back because embassies are not interviewing. And if you're going to be stuck in India for 6-7 months, then the company you're working for might wonder whether they can allow you to work remotely or not. So, for example, if you're working for the US federal government, I don't think you can work from overseas. It is illegal for you to get into government. So you're sitting in Hyderabad, in high-tech city, Gachibowli or somewhere, and you're logging into the Department of Defense websites to do some troubleshooting. No, you can't do that. You're using local Wi-Fi, your apartment building's Wi-Fi to get into US. It's a huge security risk. So if you're working for, and many of the IT people work for federal governments or contractors with the federal. So it's going to be very complicated, the H-1B scene. And I think it has, because the Indians were the people who benefited most by H-1B, getting up to 70% of H-1B visas, even more at some time, Indians will be the ones who will suffer the most because of the irregular way in which H-1B is being administered. So the Trump administration is doing two things. It is making rules, which is making it unattractive to hire H-1B people. And it is also not executing things in, shall we say, they're not doing it in a good way. So they're being nasty about it. So even if you do everything, let's say that I decide to hire you and I say, okay, I'll pay the $100,000 fee because Pyasa Shaitan is a brilliant guy. I really want him. He's critical to my AI development. So we are doing everything according to the law, according to the book. But they still might not give you interviews saying, oh, we want to find out what he wrote on Twitter. He had an account 7 years ago, which he deleted. We want to know what were his tweets or what was his Facebook. Without that, we cannot vet him. And so we will not have his interview. So they can be nasty like that if they want. Now it's a different thing that if you are very critical for Amazon or some company whose CEO is on friendly terms with the Trump administration, they might be able to do something for you individually, but there'll be lots of people. So there are double trouble is going on with H-1B. One is the rules are getting tougher. Trump could not reduce the number for whatever reason. That's why he's making it difficult for people to reach that number. Technician says 100 is bottom line. After touching 100, rupee will fall free and take a big sharp dip for correction. That's a prediction you're making, technician. So what is going to happen is $100 when if dollar becomes 100 rupees, it'll be a psychological shock more than anything else. But you know how Indians are. They'll say, oh, this is a magical strategy, some Chanakya Niti, something brilliant masterstroke of Narendra Modi, which is going to destroy the world economy. Now that Indian rupee is 100, China will become finished, Pakistan will become finished, India will win the IPL World Cup, whatever rubbish. There'll be a lot of this rubbish propaganda. And then nobody will care because after that, if it becomes 101, becomes 102, becomes 105, it doesn't worry, right? The drop from 97, 98 to 100 is going to be a big shock to the market sentiments. It could affect stock market and interest rates, etc. But dropping from 104 to 107 to 108 is not, unless it starts reaching 125, then it becomes a big thing. So you're right, there might be a free fall after it reaches 100. But if you're a businessman, so imagine this, that your son or your daughter is studying at the University of Delaware, and you are sending $20,000 a year as tuition fee and cost of living, whatever. So let's say you're sending $1,000 a month to your child who's studying in Australia, UK, wherever. So now, instead of giving 95,000 rupees a month, you will be giving 1 lakh or 1 lakh or more than that. So you're going to feel that pinch. Now, if you're borrowing the money to send tuition abroad, it's going to hurt, right? So suddenly you said, oh my God, at 5,000 rupees extra per month, I'm spending 60,000 rupees extra per year, and then the extra interest. So in that sense, it's going to be hurting people. All right, so there's an interesting question here from Bihari Babu. Will falling rupee result in increasing exports? Yes, it should. In theory, it should. So for example, like I said, if I'm buying a chappal from Pakistan and chappal from India, both of them are selling it for, say, the same price in rupees. But because Indian rupee has fallen, it'll be cheaper for me in dollars suddenly. And so I'll say, oh my God, the Pakistani chappal costs me $2, but the Indian chappal costs me $1.90. So I'm making 10-cent profit on Indian chappal. So I'm going to import more of Indian chappal, or I'm going to just stop importing Pakistanis and import the Indian chappal. And that's what I'll sell. That's one of the big things that come in leather goods from India, garments, etc. So there'll be temptation to, no, it should happen. There's not a temptation. There'll be an incentive to buy more. So let me give you an example as to how people shop. So like I want to buy a shirt, right? So I need a white shirt. So I go to one of the stores to buy the shirt. And the first thing I will do is go to the men's section, and I'll go to the clearance section. And if there's nothing on clearance, then I will look at if there's something on sale. If there's nothing on sale, then I'll buy that one shirt that I need, and I'll leave the store. But if in the sale I find that there's a 20%, 30% discount, I might buy 2 or 3 shirts. But if I go to the clearance and I see, oh my God, this is like a 75% discount because it's on clearance, because it was winter clothes and now this is summer, I might buy the whole damn rack. So, for example, I play with Nike Air. I play tennis and I wear Nike Air shoes. So the Nike Air shoes cost about $120. But 5 years ago, I was in one store where it was on sale. So I bought all of them that were there. There were about 6 or 7 of them. So I bought all of them. Those 6 or 7 shoes were cheaper than buying one shoe. So now, like 6, 7 years later, I haven't bought a tennis shoe in 5, 6 years because I still have one more pair left. So maybe after a year, I will look. So the buying behavior is different. When things become cheaper, you buy more. So as a customer, I bought more. And so the importer will buy more because our dollar is getting us a lot more. But imagine the opposite now. You are importing stuff. India is a net importer. You import more than you export. So now all that you import is going to become expensive. And then you'll buy less, which means then the total trade will go down. So we have to see which benefits more. That I can't predict. I don't know about the world, but I think Indian currency is the weakest currency uh, uh, in Asia, I think. So, so if you let me share this with you. I need to delete something else from my studio. All right. So look at this article that I'm sharing with you. People are saying that I'm Asia's worst performing currency, set for a rocky start to 2026. The rupee has emerged. This article was published on December 22. At that time, the dollar was like 85, 86 rupees. The rupee has emerged as Asia's worst performing currency. Indian currency is expected to touch 92 rupees against the dollar by the end of March. Very amazing prediction, right? This is the end of March, and the Indian rupee is now at 94.3. Foreign portfolio investors withdrew 8.5 billion in Indian equities on a year-to-date basis. See, money is flowing out, and this is a very old article. I just remembered seeing this because of the question that you asked. So yes, it is the worst performing currency in Asia. Nobody asks because you are only stuck with one indicator, which is India is the fastest growing economy in the world. Modi keeps saying that. The whole media says that, but no one tells you that your currency. So if India is the best performing economy, then why is the currency suffering? So there are a lot of other questions. Why is there not proper employment, etc. Jilani Sabun Saab, Walaikum Salam to you. Jilani attends most of the shows, and he's also a member of conversations like Abhishek and like our Shaitan. Why does he have this nickname Shaitan? Anyway, uh, Akshat Subra, what does he say? Muqtadar Khan is trying hard every day to convince Indians that they are miserable, while almost always losing his balance doing so much hate that makes him look 10 years older than Modi. Do I really look 10 years older than Modi to you? And I'm not trying to convince you. I did not drop the value of rupees. It is the value of rupees is falling. Let me show you something. So I can just show you. Let's go to sharing screen, and then let's go anywhere. Let's go to this screen. So if you're seeing this screen, just go to Google and do dollar rupee, and you can see it's now 94.63. I was saying zero point 0.4, so it has fallen in this 1 day. Look, it is going down, 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 down. This is where it was 93.4, and then the RBI changed the rule. It came down to 93. Now it's going up. I'm not trying to do this. I'm not making this up, my friend. This is happening in real time. That article that I showed about the Indian rupee being the worst performing currency in Asia, why is Modi not becoming old by looking at it? Why does he remain young? He doesn't care about the country he governs? So, I don't know. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he sleeps a lot. That's why. Let's see what our young Abhishek is saying. So Indian government not working for Iranian Indian government, working for own people, own culture, Indian economic interests. So your knowledge is great listening up. I don't think the Indian government is working for all of Indian people. There are lots of Indians who are suffering because of this. There are lots of people who are of religious minorities, people who are lower caste. They're not benefiting from this at all. They're suffering a lot. It's only the upper caste and the upper middle class people, people who are making more money, who are doing well. Only the top 10 to 15% of the Indian population is doing well. The rest of the people are not benefiting. Bihari Babu, I think, is an economist. Oh, I was about to say he's an economist, but he turns out to be a doctor. I'm an MBBS doctor, but I think I know more economics than many so-called. I agree with you. I agree with you. There are so many journalists who don't understand what happened when they moved from the base of 2011, 2012. So there was a basket, and I was looking at what was in the basket on the basis of which India was measuring it. They had video tapes, VCRs and VHS. None of that exists. Look at the difference in phones, for example. The phone that you buy today costs 1 lakh rupees. The phones that you were having in 2000. So it was a mismeasurement of the GDP calculation. Even consumer price index was not being handled well. So yes, Bihari, you know more about economics than most. You should go and see the shows that I have done with Dr. Santosh Mehrotra and Dr. Amirullah Khan. You'll enjoy them. What is he saying about my family? Everyone in your family earns more than 150K. Who said that? I don't make 150K. Your daughter went to Yale, yes. Son went to Harvard, yes. So what is desperate and cheap about that? I don't know. At least I don't have a PhD in all of political science. I have PhD only in international relations and political philosophy. So someone is tracking my family. Anyway, nothing interesting here. People are saying very strange things here. But you are here all the time. If you are tracking me, you are here all the time. What is the good news that I should give you? You tell me. Fake news? Should let's talk about Dhurandhar or cricket? I don't know. All right. So let me tell you this. This is a fake news. It is not a $300 billion Ambani investment. Okay. First of all, Ambani is not the main investor. Okay. So Pyatha Shaitan, they are saying that at some point that particular refinery will produce $300 billion worth of oil per year. So the turnover, the total uh, revenue generated by sale of oil that is refined in that refinery will at some point reach $300 billion. But we don't know what the actual investment is. And we also don't know what the share of Mr. Ambani is. We also know that Mr. Ambani is not the biggest shareholder of that. So go and take a look at it. Now, if I did a show on that to tell you, then people say, oh, once again, he's showing bad news. So you want to believe in India that India has invested 300 billion, Ambani has invested, then go on, believe it. But that's not truth. I can find out, about that, the truth about the 300 billion refinery. There are some strange things. So there are fact checks about it. You can see, for example, here's what it says. Fact check: Trump announces $300 billion Texas refinery, but the project actually started during Biden's presidency. President Donald Trump posted that there were $300 billion deal, but the history of this project appears to be more complicated. It goes back to 2019. So there are also questions about $300 billion figure itself. Industry reporting indicate the actual construction of the refinery itself is estimated around $3 to $4 billion. The $300 billion number reflects potential long-term economic impact and energy output. So the actual cost of the refinery apparently is just $3 to $4 billion, but they are estimating that over 10, 15, 20 years, it will have a $300 billion impact. So it's like Trump saying that Qatar is going to invest $2 trillion in America. You know how big the economy of Qatar is? It's just $250 billion. So it'll take Qatar 10 years to make $2.5 trillion. And all of that, Qatar is going to invest in the US? No. So Donald Trump, I don't know where he got that number. So don't take his tweets that seriously. This is what the Indian government just blocked, my friend. You're not going to be able to do that as of April 10th. If I knew this, I would be doing it. I don't know. I think that people who are on the Wall Street, who are in hedge funds, are making the most money in America. So if you want the economy hack, become a mathematician, do a PhD in mathematics, and then go into the stock market. And then and if you do well, have you seen the show Billionaires on Showtime? It should be available on Amazon Prime. And you can see how they fight to hire the best mathematicians because they're modeling and trying to predict what goes up and down. So that's a good thing to do. As far as law, it's taxation is one field. The other field is obviously SEC law, law of taxes and investment, where you advise, you're an advisor to, you're the lawyer of the hedge fund manager. That's where I think the most money is in the country at the moment. All right. Oh man, don't do this. Don't do this at all. I read at least 4 or 5 hours a day. And because I'm on sabbatical right now, I'm able to do 3 for sure. I do a lot of media. It's not just conversations. I do Satya Hindi, I do Lalan Top, I'm on BBC, I do CNN, I did Al Jazeera now a lot. So yes, but in order to be able to do those shows, I have to be on top of things, right? I have to keep reading. So remember that article that I read in December about India's currency being the worst in Asia? I just remembered that. I was able to find it. So there's no substitute to reading. The best thing is thinking, but you cannot think if you don't have information. So reading and thinking, reflection, they are the most important thing. That's how you will grow as a person. If you scroll through reels, you will simply waste time. They are fun. These days, most of the reels that are coming out of India are terrible. They are all too much of sex related. It's like pornography. So, but there's a lot of Indian good comedians. So I do watch some Indian comedians, but don't watch. Give yourself a limit. When you're on the potty in the bathroom or something, that's when you should watch the reels. But otherwise, once you decide that if I'm in this room, only then will I see reels. Then go away elsewhere. Don't do that. Like in my study, this is my study, right? So I can show you guys my study. I love it. I spend a lot of time here. So in my study, these are all my books. I have 4,000 books in this study, and then I have close to 2,000 books in the basement. So in this study, I never watch reels. I don't watch television. I don't watch show. Sometimes I will check ESPN Cricket for score, but I will not watch cricket because when I'm here, this is my temple. This is my Sufi lodge. This is where I either think or work. So you should do the same thing. You decide that during this period of time, I will invest in myself. There's something called a 1 hour rule, which apparently all billionaires and rich people like Elon Musk have. Bill Gates also follows the so-called 5 hour rule. It is called a 5 hour rule. That means for 5 hours every week, which means 1 hour every day, they are dedicated to improving themselves. Okay. So do something for 1 hour. Master how to use ChatGPT, master how to use AI for your purposes, or do something else. But spend 1 hour in making yourself a better person every day. All right, guys, thank you very much for watching, and please subscribe to the channel. Take care.